Alright, so once again we're starting the video from the news, awesome news coming from the occupied Crimea. Ukraine sent some of the toys the last night to hit Russian military infrastructure, and it was really successful. Yeah, the Russian air defense was in operation, as you may see, but it wasn't that successful as usual. One of the local Russian Telegram channels collected the videos coming from the eyewitnesses. Yeah, unfortunately, most of the images were blurred, but anyways, the kabooms were reported in the major cities and towns of Crimea, where the Russian military bases are located. Hey guys, sorry I just woke up so I could look sleepy. Anyways, my friends, the Russian air defense is way less effective compared to what it was a few months ago. So Ukraine with its drone motherboard tactics was really capable to hit lots of the Russian air defense systems, the radars and the surveillance of Russian army in Crimea, which made the bigger Ukrainian drone operations way more successful. Yeah, the Russian Defense Ministry obviously told that they've shut down everything, but I don't trust them because there were lots of the drones and for sure many of those reached their targets. But at the same time, I'm waiting for more information of what particularly was kaboomed there. Locals in Crimea filmed as what they say the Ukrainian drone boat, which is very close to the beach. But for me it looks like a water scooter. Well, maybe they know more. But definitely Russians are scared of everything. Especially in Crimea, because now those are the May holidays for around 1 week and many of the Russians went to Crimea. And Ukraine has decided to organize some of the fireworks to greet them. But you know what? Ukrainian drones continue to share their greetings also on the Russian territory. For example, Stavropol city of Russia. And there is the very important facility for the Russian satellite communication and surveillance. It is called Zvezda, so the star. And here you may see lots of the Russian satellite communication radars, and those being hit by Ukrainian drones. It is being reported by the Russian military bloggers. At least they say that Ukrainian strike was successful, but we don't have the confirmation yet from the satellite images. I'm still waiting for those. And yeah, one more big kaboom is reported in Rostov Oblast, which is not that far away from Crimea. Meanwhile, Russia attacks Ukrainian infrastructure, but as you can see, it's civilian one. There were no any military targets for the last few days hit by the Russian drones and their missiles. The last night was very terrible for Kharkiv, for example. Russia launched lots of the gliding bombs and Shahed drones on Kharkiv. It is happening every night in Ukraine, so Russia continued to harm Ukrainians. Many of the casualties were reported and lots of the civilians were delivered to the hospitals. Just yesterday we discussed the new initiative of the United States of America to support Ukrainian F-16 program, and today we have the confirmation coming from the United States Defense Ministry. And here they tell not just about sustainment, so delivering of the spare parts and providing maintenance for F-16s, but also about the training of the personnel to operate F-16s, maintenance and obviously pilots. The program is kind of large and will involve 310 million United States dollars. So I would say this is the most awesome news which is coming from the Donald Trump's administration, because this military support is comparable to what Joe Biden regularly sent to Ukraine. I mean, one of the packages is equal to 310 million. And as it was announced just after the mineral deal was signed with Ukraine, it means that now Donald Trump has justification to support Ukraine more. So I just hope that Donald Trump's administration understands that support the Ukrainian military really matters. And that's how they also might push Russia for some of the ceasefire negotiations. It is only possible with Ukraine having big army. And yeah, we have the closer look on F-16 that probably was delivered already to Ukraine as a spare part, they say, and it was taken, as you can see, from the scrap yard somewhere in Arizona probably. And yeah, in a way delivering the full airplane could be even cheaper. There are some of the logistic issues and bureaucratic issues with that. It could be just easier to write it all from the United States Defense Department. But there is also the chance that in this way Ukraine could obtain more F-16s as spare parts, yes, not maintained, scrapped, but with proper maintenance you may lift them up. My friends, by the way, if you want to support the job that I do here almost daily, you are very welcome to join me on Patreon. The link for my Patreon page I'll put right in the video description just below. Many thanks for my Patreon supporters. You just keep me running and continue to produce the content on YouTube and not only. Stay awesome, guys. And also, guys, we have the information about the possible sanctions applied by American side on Russia, also including the secondary sanctions. The United States finalizes new sanctions on Russia, awaits Trump's approval. So everything is ready, and just one man's decision could change a bit, I would say. They could apply tougher sanctions on Russian energy and banking sector, Gazprom and other companies. And also this package could include the secondary sanctions applied on China and India companies because they work with Russian Federation, purchasing some of the natural resources and fossil fuels. And yes, this is the pressure on Russia, but it will not cause Russia to give up its war in Ukraine because, you know, you might create the company to purchase some oil from Russia and close it in one day. So for sure Russia will find the way out to sell their oil, as they sometimes even find a way to receive American-made military spare parts for their drones, electronics for their military made in Japan or Taiwan, French-made Thales displays for their fighter jets, so there were lots of the schemes uncovered. Yeah, all of them go via third countries, but still they do exist. And as with those cartels, you know, they purchase lots of the stuff to deliver their goods to United States. For example, they even build submarines and they bribe everyone around. So the same goes for Russian oil products. They earn a lot from it and they'll do everything to sell it. That's why I continue to say that sanctions are important, but it's not the real pressure on Russia. The real pressure is to support Ukrainian military. While the United States Army plans for a potential military parade on Trump's freaking birthday, call for 6,600 soldiers, AP learns. It is something new, really outstanding. So Trump is taking initiatives which are coming from Russian regime, showing the mighty military power. Trump dictators just do it. And what Donald Trump wrote in his Truth Social just yesterday, well, it just mirrors Putin's rhetorics. The May 8th is a victory day, but we did more than any other country by far in predicting a victorious result of the World War II. That's the usual stuff what Putin say, that Russians won this war, not Ukrainians, not others. It was Russia. Without Russia, the victory wouldn't be possible. But yeah, Donald Trump says the same. And here Trump calls for celebration, so we have our victories, but we never celebrate anything. That's because we don't have leaders anymore. We're going to start celebrating our victories again. Just imagine Donald Trump staying like that in front of his military mighty force. Jets are flying, tanks are passing, soldiers marching, wasting American taxpayers' money. But you know, for Donald's ego, it would be the best. Actually, it's the sign of dictator regime, guys. And yeah, I continue to criticize Donald Trump, even though there are some of the programs now to support, for example, Ukrainian F-16s, but it is not even close to what was done by the previous White House administration. And I hope all together with American society, we're gonna push American government to act differently towards Ukraine, because the future of Europe really matters on the outcome of the war which Russia started against Ukraine. Alright guys, now about the frontlines review, we have some of the changes. Russia is active in 3 of the major spots. First of all, in Kurachevo direction, they try to gain more of the ground. Next, in Toretsk. And the third direction is between Pokrovsk and Toretsk, where Russia is the most effective, I would say. Especially judging on this recent Russian strike, where they entered Novolenivka. And here Ukraine was even forced to leave the area. And it was definitely a surprise to see this Russian attack, which happened for the last couple of days. Here they advanced mostly with their infantry. The terrain is not that easy, however, they managed to get to the local village. And their goal here is to cut this road completely for Ukraine, and here they already cut it down. However, Russia, as you may see, has losses. We have those confirmed on many of the sources. However, Russia goes ahead again and again. With warm and dry weather, Russian army intensified its strikes. And yeah, before I've told you that the Russian army is struggling with the armored vehicles and still they have the shortage of those, but nevertheless they send many more of the forces like just infantry or motorcycle forces, and if you send them again and again, finally you'll have the success. Yeah, with terrible losses, and Ukrainian army absolutely cannot afford these tactics, but Russian army, they go ahead with that. They take some sort of the ground here and there only with this mid-wave attack tactics. tactics. And here in Taurus, they also tried to attack Ukrainian positions from this side, and here we have some of the confirmation about their losses. The vehicle was going from Druzhba, turned away, but it was too late, it was hit by FPV, alright. And also here you may say that Russia is using some of the aviation bombing. They continue to use aviation gliding bombs all around the front lines. And if we move to Kurakhova direction, here you may see where Russian army probably will strike Ukraine once again, because they're preparing it with lots of the aviation activity, as you may see. As artillery worked before the attack, here the Russian aviation does the same job. Well, from the good news that Ukraine is still proactive in Pokrovsk direction, still it keeps initiative over here, because Pokrovsk after all is the most important spot out there on the eastern front lines, and it seems like Russia moved their main resources out from this area. Ukraine has more of the troops in Pokrovsk itself, but Russia wants to get closer to this highway and maybe even to Constantinople, and they try to advance from Chasiv Yar, but so far unsuccessfully. As for the deep state military map, they show that Russia moved out from Tarasivka and not yet reached Novoelenivka. Well, maybe with the next update we're gonna see the other picture. And guess if you worry about those small Russian attacks and Ukrainian ability to stand against Russia, well, no worries here, Ukraine will defend itself. And here Forbes comes out with interesting statistics about the Russian losses and ability for Russia to take over Ukraine. Well, they say that if Russia continues to attack with the present pace, they will occupy Ukraine by 2056, so in more than 2 centuries. And Russia would waste for that more than 100 million troops, so you understand that those numbers are unreal. And it definitely shows the unrealistic idea for the second army in the world to conquer Ukraine. Basically, physically, it is not possible. Even if Ukraine would not obtain enough military support, still Ukrainians will fight for their land, and there will be countries, for example European countries, which will still support Ukraine in any of the case. Now I already told you that Russia lost this war back in 2022 with their failed blitzkrieg operation and with the failed attempt to take Kiev under control to put their puppet government. No, it just will not happen, and the policy of Putin to play this long game, it will harm Russia a lot after all, but unfortunately many years could lead to the final Russian collapse, disintegration, and you may call it reformation of Russia, and absolutely cancelling their current leadership. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to press your huge like to it. Also subscribe for my channel because you help with that a lot, and I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.